Welcome to Create Wealth Through Franchising. I'm your host, Kim Daly. Whether you're a CEO, a military vet, a real estate investor, or simply in career transition and ready to take ownership of your future, with each episode, you're going to learn valuable insights and hear inspiring stories from within the franchise industry. On that note, my guest stories are their own. And as a franchise consultant, I do not make personal brand endorsements or earnings claims, but I do educate, motivate, and inspire dreams. Now, on to the show. Welcome back to Kim Daly TV. Our special guests for you today, they are another epic partnership and husband and wife from the Xpo family of brands. Please welcome to the studio, Vanessa and Clay Walden. Welcome to Kim Daly TV.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so excited to have you here. And they are multiple unit owners of different brands at Xpo. And I'm going to have you guys tell your story to my followers, because my followers want to hear what led you to want to own a franchise. You know, a lot of people don't wake up and go, oh yeah, like my dream is in a franchise, right? The dream might be to own a business, but then they have to come to kind of like this place in their learning about starting a business that sort of leads them to the safer path that a franchise can afford. Mm-hmm. So tell your story a little bit as being entrepreneurs, what led you to franchising, and then how you ended up at Xpo.
Sure. So we started a valet and car wash company back in 2015. And, from there, we've always wanted to kind of get into something different. Like when it comes to owning businesses, you kind of don't want to put all your, chickens in one area, I guess. And so we were looking to kind of diversify and get into something different. And my business partner, his wife, had been with Pure Barre in the past, and they were moving back to Georgia, and we were kind of looking to get into something different, and we had the opportunity to purchase 2 territories from Xpo, and then we ended up purchasing 3 additional studios from existing owners out there. And so with that prior relationship and the prior knowledge to that brand and working with Xpo in a sense, that kind of led us into getting on with them. And then as things materialized, they eventually introduced Body Fit training back in, I guess, 2021 now. And again, we were just looking to do something different. Franchising is all well and good, and it may not be what we stay into. We may go into something else after we kind of leave the franchise realm. But, we were looking to get into something else, and Body Fit training is kind of mine and Vanessa's type of workout. Nothing against Pure Barre. It's been great, and it's been a great franchise for us. But, Body Fit, the type of workout that we're doing there is something that we kind of like to do daily. And so that's kind of what drew us to it. And we took the leap of faith, had the conversations with Xpo, and, that's kind of how we ended up getting the 2 territories that we have here out in Texas.
I love it. Vanessa, you want to add anything to that?
I mean, that's pretty much the gist of the story, really. As far as franchising, I feel like really you have to look for that one thing that is going to be your sole job, that is something that you want to do and invest a lot of time in. But for us, it was definitely fitness, whether it was Pure Barre or Body Fit training, and the brand really just spoke to us. So we went for that.
Yeah. So you were entrepreneurs and then you turned to franchisepreneurship. So what are some of the differences that you've seen, positive or negative, in becoming a franchisee compared to when you were out there on your own running your car wash business?
I was having this conversation with someone today. When you're kind of a small business owner and you're running your own business, you kind of have to wear all the different hats, and it's may not be a whole lot different in franchising, but you kind of have a support of, I guess, a larger company, and you can get content for marketing, you can get sales advice and stuff like that. And, when you're kind of just running your own business that you started from scratch, a lot of that stuff you kind of just have to come up with on your own.
Yeah.
So that's been one of the biggest differences. And it's been nice, it's been nice to be able to have, someone else to kind of rely on for certain things like that. Don't get me wrong, you're still working just as hard and you still got to put in just as much effort, but there's some things that you get with franchising that you don't necessarily get, especially if you're a small business owner. Yeah, if you have a large corporation and, you have a bunch of executives and a bunch of people working for you, yeah, stuff can get done. But, in our situation, it's not like that. And so it was nice to kind of have a little bit of that extra help and, stuff that we get from Xpo that, we don't have from just being just sole business owners.
I love that. I say a lot to my candidates that in that 3 to 5 year period that an entrepreneur would be perfecting their model, really figuring out the customer avatar, the marketing, the sales pitch, overcoming objections, how to get around the competition, right? All of that figuring out in that same 3 to 5 year period, a franchisepreneur can probably own and operate 3 to 5 locations, right? Because you're not figuring out anything from day one. You already have that turnkey business plan and you just get to start executing. Right. And to your point, it doesn't mean you're not working hard, right? You still have to show up. It's like as personal trainers, I used to be a personal trainer. I tell people I could have the best equipment in the world and I could have the most cutting edge science to deliver to you, exactly. But you still got to show up and do the work, right? The franchisor-franchisee relationship is exactly the same, right? The franchisor is the personal trainer. You're the trainee. Yep. You got to show up and put in the work. And it's no joke. If you want your body to change, you got to do the hard work. If you want to grow a successful business, absolutely. You got to put in the hard work. So that was beautifully said. So Vanessa, you're wearing the BFT sweatshirt today. So let's talk a little bit about the differences. Are there big differences in owning a Pure Barre franchise versus BFT? Like the first thing that comes to my mind is, Pure Barre is probably mainly females. Like is there a difference in how you're running the businesses, or do they run like kind of the same minus a different modality?
I mean, I would say overall, both of them being Xponential brands, there's a lot of similarities. Now, the workout itself and the way we have to deliver that and obviously appeal to our different demographics, it's just like any other business, completely different. So definitely BFT is a brand that appeals to both males and females. We have from high school students to, people in their 60s trying to stay in shape or get back into a routine for health benefits. Same thing with Pure Barre, but definitely that demographic is different. It's mainly females and it's a completely different type of workout, right? So There are differences as far as how are you going to deliver that. The beauty of it is that you still count with that corporate support. So specifically at Xponential, they have everything divided by brand. So a BFT is getting our own support from our sales directors and our marketing directors and our VP of programming. Same thing at Pure Barre. They have their own team delivering all that to them. So in a sense in which you're still going to have that support and you're going to have that help from corporate and headquarters, it's the same. However, when it comes down to understanding your brand and selling it the way you should to who you should, obviously that takes a little bit more homework and deliverance, right?
Hey, Daly Coach fans, if you're loving this episode, please do me a quick favor and leave me a 5-star rating and a short review. Your feedback fuels my growth and rankings and shows others that this podcast is valuable. Now, back to the show. Pure Barre, when you invested, was already a well-established brand, right? Body Fit Training is a relatively new brand. So do you feel differences in the support between the more established Expo brand and kind of the baby of the family? Or does it feel exactly the same because it's all Expo?
I mean, I'll speak to that because we've been doing most of our organic lead creation and just getting out to the community. And obviously, Pure Barre, before it was acquired by Xponential, had already been an established, well-known brand. So, of course, it doesn't mean it's less work by any means. Okay, it doesn't mean that our partners in Georgia are not day in and day out trying to explain Pure Barre and deliver that product. But when you are reaching out to the masses with a brand they've never heard of, even though Body Fit Training is huge in Australia, Pacific Asia, they're tapping into Germany and the UK now. I mean, they're exploding and good reason behind it. It's absolutely outstanding. But we are still here in the Woodlands, Texas, trying to explain why are we not X, Y, and Z gym? Right. Why are we not high intensity cardio that you're doing every single day? What's the difference between programming and semi-private personal training that is being delivered to you so you can actually get results? So absolutely, yes, it's been different trying to explain that. And the challenges with being a brand new concept have shown themselves, but it's also kind of like hey, this is it. We're pioneering the brand. We are pioneering our way of getting our name out there. So it's also fun.
Yeah, right. You get to like carry the flag. And I always
Right.
take me back to like Massage Envy, right? When Massage Envy launched that membership around massage, like they weren't creating anything new. Body Fit Training isn't creating anything new. They're just packaging this personal training, strength training based workout, right? Scientific based workout in a different way, right? So there's education that has to happen in the market. And the exciting part is for pioneers like yourself, as I see, like when you take the best territories in the market and you're the pioneer building that brand, when that brand wakes up and everybody's like, wow, I love BFT, I want to own one, and there's no more territory left to sell, that's when the pioneers go, well, you can pay me 6 times what I built and I'll happily go away. I had friends at Massage Envy who experienced that. I had friends at Planet Fitness who experienced that. It's not like those brands hold on to those multiples, but that's part of the advantage of building a brand to that sort of like denouement, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean it won't go on and have another denouement in the future. It's just kind of like the first peak after the education process is done. And your sister company, Stretch Lab, went through that, right? I placed the very first Stretch Lab franchisee back in 2018. Today, he owns 4 locations, but it's like a week in my business doesn't go by without somebody emailing me saying, hey, can you tell me about Stretch Lab, right? Like, I'm like, where were you 5 years ago when we had wide open territories, right? But that's because now people are like seeing it in their market, they're experiencing it, and then they're like, wow, I want to own one of these. But the time to really own the best markets in the country is not once it's a peak. It's prior to that. It's being in the place you're in. So it's awesome. But I see that like there's always a blessing and a burden, right? To every position you're in. So that was so eloquently said. Mm-hmm. So Clay, let's throw it back to you. What are you guys looking forward to? Like in the beginning of the call, you said, or interview, you said, we may not always be in franchising. So do you have other entrepreneurial ideas about investing your portfolio? Are you not fully sucked into the magic of a franchise?
I mean,
not to put you on the spot.
We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't have faith in it, or is it something that we wanted to do? I just try to stay open-minded. I don't want to contain myself to just only franchising or, owning a small business or something like that. I just try to stay open-minded about, what we're going to do next. Things change, the market changes, the world changes. And so you have to be able to adapt to, kind of goes back to what you said about getting in somewhere at the right time. It's like that with everything in life. If you're in early, then, you're in a good spot. And so, we're just looking for where there's potential in different areas in the market, and whether that's real estate or, that's kind of what we're looking into next. But, who knows? Who knows what it could be? Honestly, we never thought we would grow the car wash and valet company to what we did, and never thought we would get into the franchising. One thing kind of leads to another, and we just try to keep an open mind about what we're going to do next.
Is it safe to say that no matter what you do next, you are entrepreneur or franchisepreneur, not W-2 people?
Yeah.
That's like the best question I love to ask everybody. A lot of times the people I'm working with or talking to, it's their first entree into business ownership when they buy a franchise. And so I always want to ask like, so do you feel like you're unemployable now? But I can already tell that you guys are not employable. You are totally creating your own path, and you have a vision for your future that might include multiple different types of investments, which I think is smart because all really strong portfolios are well diversified. Like I have business cash flowing returns, like the business, I do every day, my franchise consulting business, but I have passive investments in real estate syndication and car washes and things that my money is invested in, but my time isn't invested in. So when you look at like all the different revenue sources I have, they're nice and diversified, right? Because that's what makes it safe. So I totally respect that. So to the person who's listening to this interview, who's sitting on the sideline, who's thinking, I really want to own my business. I'm worried about losing my job, or I want to build that future that I own and can control, but it's hard for me to like make the leap.
Yeah.
What advice do you have?
My biggest thing is you have to be willing to put in the work, right? If you're comfortable doing your 9 to 5 and having your weekends off and all that stuff, this may not be what you want to do. Like you're having to put in the work. Like I said earlier, you're with franchise, and Xponential gives you a ton of great support and everything you need to kind of run the play. They give you the playbook, but you have to be the one to run it. And sometimes that means working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, working on Saturdays, working on Sundays. You have to be willing to put in the work. Nothing's going to kind of get done the way you want it unless you're doing it yourself, So depend on yourself to make it happen. Have faith in yourself. And if you have work ethic and you're willing to get into the trenches and get your hands dirty, I think you can be successful. Vanessa and I and, our partners and stuff, we're nothing special from anyone else out there. We're just willing to put in the hard work and, get our hands dirty and be reasonable people, be a nice person, treat your employees well and stuff like that. And you can make it happen.
Anything to add to that, Vanessa?
I know, like as he's talking, I'm thinking of this meme that is all over Instagram that talks about, I became a business owner because I wanted to work my own hours, and I stopped working a 40-hour week to work 24/7. And it's kind of true.
But you guys also have a lot of locations and a lot of things going on. Inside Expo, there's the semi-absentee model. That's a general manager run model. Do you have colleagues, are you friends with other franchise owners who aren't working like you're working because they have a general manager?
Yeah, I mean, you can even look at our pure bars. They all have like a manager or somebody in the studio. Not to say that our partners weren't involved and still are. I mean, Jenna, she's still teaching all the time. Chad is there in the studio, running the desk, just kind of like Clay and I do. For us, I mean, I'll call it a luxury to be able to run these businesses and still make this our job. Right. So we can still be here involved in the midst of it. It will get to a time, hopefully with that second location opening, where we can find the right person to take a little bit more of that workload and follow that model that Xponential presents. Now, nothing against it. I think it's worked extremely well for other locations where you have the owner, you have a strong manager, you have a strong head coach, and then the funnel just trickles itself the way it should. For us personally, just being able to be here and in the midst of the daily work, what we've done has worked just as fine. I mean, I'm technically kind of like that person. Clay is also very involved with payroll, head coaches, and all that other stuff. So we've been able to divvy up the work and make it successful. But I think as long as you are one of those owners that understands that semi means semi, not absent. Okay. A little more emphasis on the semi and a little less emphasis on the absent until you get it going, right? And it'll roll on its own if you have established a good foundation. Yeah. Momentum is one of those tough things to build, and you need to be there to build that. Like a rocket ship literally has to defy the gravity to go up, right? And once it gets up there, it can cruise. But if you're not putting in that hard work and that time and dedication from the beginning, then you will not be on cruise control. So I think that's what we've learned.
That's amazing. Hey, Daly Coach fans, if you're ready to begin your own journey to find the perfect franchise, please email me right now at inquire@kimdaly.tv. My services are totally free for you. That's inquire@kimdaly.tv. Now, back to the show. So, but what I also heard you say is being in your business is a choice you're making full time. You've made that choice, and you said a luxury. I love that word because a lot of times people can't. They have to maintain a full-time job while they're building this, and therein lies that semi-absentee general manager run unit, which definitely validates. We've certainly had on my podcast, I've had interviews with owners who are working at that. So the idea to the listener out there is that you're coming to the idea of owning your future, and where you begin is where you begin, and everybody's story and everybody's risk tolerance and everybody's ability to lead people out of the gate versus do the work themselves. everybody's different and there's no judgment. There's no real right or wrong, but no matter what you do, how you start, you're still working the business, right? So sometimes you're working on it, sometimes you're working in it and on it, right? But that's been very clearly stated here in this conversation today. I appreciate so much your candor. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate you taking the time to share your story with the followers of Kim Daly TV. Thank you so much, Vanessa and Clay, for being my special guests.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
You guys are awesome. I can't wait to try this BFT workout. For those people out there who are excited to begin your own journey to find your own BFT, if it's not BFT, please follow the email on the screen right now or reach directly out to me at inquire@kimdaly.tv. That's inquire@kimdaly.tv. You know, I love the Expo family of brands, but there's a lot of other franchise opportunities out there. Fitness may or may not be your thing, but a solid world-class franchisor is everybody's thing. And that is what the Xponential Fitness brands, I think, represents to everybody. So on that, I appreciate your time and I'll see you next time. My name is Kim Daly and I want to be your Daly Coach. You can find more content just like this on my YouTube channel at kimdaly.tv. And if you're inspired to take the next step to explore franchises matched to you, please email me right now at inquire@kimdaly.tv. That's inquire@kimdaly.tv.